The night felt wrong from the very first siren. It wasn't just loud, it was desperate, screaming through the quiet Texas town as if warning people of something far worse than a storm. Emily rushed to her window and froze when she saw neighbors running, not from wind or rain, but from something sprinting across the street with unnatural speed. A pale figure slammed into a parked car so hard it left a dent, then spun toward a woman screaming for help. Emily's heart pounded as the creature moved on all fours, growling like a starving animal. When it leaped onto a police cruiser and ripped the door clean off, she knew the world had changed in a single night. Phones buzzed with an alert, "Do not approach violent individuals." But it was too late. Violence was already everywhere. A man tried to help his bitten wife, only for her to snap her head back and sink her teeth into his throat. Emily ran outside to grab her brother Logan while chaos exploded around them. People stumbled, blood sprayed the ground, and something primal echoed in the air. The dead weren't rising slowly, they were running. The gas station lights flickered as Emily and Logan watched a nightmare unfold before their eyes. A man covered in blood sprinted across the parking lot faster than any human should, crashing into a trucker with a bone-cracking impact. Before the trucker could shout, the man bit straight into his shoulder, tearing flesh like paper. Logan pulled Emily behind a shelf of bottled water as the trucker collapsed, twitching violently. His veins darkened instantly, spreading like ink under his skin. Emily whispered, "It's happening too fast." Within seconds, the trucker's eyes turned glassy white. He didn't gasp for breath, he just stood up. And when he did, he moved with horrifying speed, snapping his head toward any sound: breathing, crying, footsteps. He lunged at another customer, claws scraping the floor as he ran. Emily realized something terrible. These weren't movie zombies. They didn't drag themselves, they hunted. Logan grabbed a metal rod and held it tightly as a shadow sprinted past the window, screaming with a voice that didn't sound human anymore. The infection wasn't spreading, it was exploding. Every bite instantly created another monster, another runner, another nightmare. Emily knew they had seconds to escape or become the next ones to rise. Interstate 10 should have been full of headlights, not abandoned cars and silence. Emily and Logan crawled beneath an overturned SUV as distant screams echoed across the highway. The infected were everywhere, sprinting between stalled vehicles with jerky, unnatural movements. One creature stopped inches from Emily, sniffing the air with twitching spasms like it could sense fear itself. Logan held his breath as another zombie climbed onto a crushed sedan, tilting its head as if listening to something only it could hear. Then all at once, the pack bolted, vanishing into the night like predators chasing new prey. Emily wiped the sweat from her face, but her relief didn't last long. A man crawled toward them, bleeding and barely conscious. "They remember," he whispered. "They remember things, places." Before Emily could ask, he convulsed, bones cracking as the infection took over. His scream shifted into a growl mid-breath. Emily dragged Logan out as the newly turned zombie slammed its body into the SUV, trying to reach them. The highway was no longer a road. It was a hunting ground. Every step forward felt like walking deeper into a nightmare that had no end. America wasn't falling slowly. It was collapsing in a single night. The moment Emily saw helicopters circling Houston, she knew the city was already lost. Soldiers shouted orders as they pushed civilians behind barricades, but panic drowned out every command. People shoved, cried, begged to get inside the quarantine zone. Then the ground shook. A mutated infected sprinted toward the barricade, its skin cracked, ribs visible beneath pale flesh. It hit the metal fence with such force that soldiers were thrown backward. weapons flying from their hands. Emily grabbed Logan and fled down a flooded alley as chaos erupted. Gunshots echoed, but the creatures moved too fast. The infected leaped onto rooftops, crashed through windows, and tore into anyone who made noise. Emily realized they weren't just attacking, they were hunting. She and Logan waded through waist, deep water in the bayou, trying to stay quiet, but even the splash of water drew attention. A distant screech made Logan nearly slip. Emily pressed him against a tree, shivering as a zombie sprinted along the water's edge, searching for movement. These weren't mindless monsters, they were adapting. Soldiers couldn't contain them, fences couldn't stop them. And as Houston fell within hours, Emily understood the terrifying truth. The infected were evolving faster than humans could react. The abandoned hospital smelled of blood and chemicals, but it was the only safe place they could reach. Emily and Logan crept through dark corridors, lit only by emergency lights, until they found a door locked from the inside. A woman pulled it open, staring at them with exhausted eyes. Dr. Harper introduced herself and led them down into an underground lab hidden beneath the hospital. Inside were old monitors, scattered notes, and containment tanks shattered from the inside. Dr. Harper explained everything in a trembling voice. The virus wasn't an accident. It was engineered. A military experiment meant to create super soldiers with enhanced speed, strength, and reflexes. But something mutated. The enhancements turned primal, activating parts of the brain linked to animalistic behavior. The soldiers became uncontrollable, violent, hungry. The military tried to erase the evidence by releasing fire protocols, but the infected escaped before containment. Logan stared at a broken tank with deep claw marks inside it. "You created this," he whispered. "Doctor." Harper nodded, tears forming, "and now it's evolving beyond anything we designed." Emily realized humanity wasn't fighting zombies. They were fighting a weapon that refused to die. And the world had no idea how bad it was going to get. Thunder shook the hospital as lightning flashed through shattered windows. The power flickered once, then died completely. Emily felt her breath catch. Without electricity, the underground lab's reinforced door lost its magnetic lock. A distant screech echoed through the halls, then another. The infected had found the hospital. Dr. Harper tried restarting the generator, but the loud sputtering sound acted like a signal. Shadows sprinted down the hallway with terrifying speed, slamming into doors, clawing at walls, hunting anything alive. Emily held a flashlight between shaking hands as she and Logan fought their way through dark corridors, stepping over overturned beds and shattered glass. Every time the lightning flashed, she saw silhouettes running toward her. One creature dropped from the ceiling tiles and almost tackled Logan before Emily swung a metal bar into its skull. But these infected didn't stay down long. They twitched, stood, and charged again. "Doctor!" Harper screamed as one broke into the lab, its jaw unhinged wider than humanly possible. The group ran toward the stairwell, but Emily noticed something horrifying. The infected weren't attacking randomly. They were moving together, surrounding them, cutting off exits. They hunted in coordinated patterns. The virus wasn't just mutating bodies, it was mutating minds. The desert air felt cold as Emily and Logan reached the hidden bunker. Dr. Harper mentioned. The metal door hissed open, revealing survivors armed and exhausted. A scarred soldier handed Emily a file folder full of classified documents. Inside were research notes, mutation charts, and a map showing infection clusters spreading across the country. The soldier explained that the virus had entered a second mutation stage, one adapted to heat. Soon it would thrive in warm climates across New Mexico, Arizona, and all of California. Once Los Angeles fell, the infection would spread globally within days. Emily looked around the bunker. People were scared, but determined. Some repaired weapons, others reinforced walls. Logan studied a map showing strategic weak zones where the infected could break through. A woman with a radio headset reported multiple fast, moving hordes approaching the desert. Emily realized the bunker wasn't a safe zone. It was a final checkpoint before the West Coast collapsed. She flipped through more documents and froze at a page showing neural activity scans of infected brains. The zombies were developing patterns similar to pack animals and early signs of problem solving. The next stage of the apocalypse wasn't coming. It was already here. The emergency broadcast system crackled to life as Emily stood before the microphone, hands trembling but voice steady. "If you can hear this, America has one night left." Her message echoed through radio towers across the nation while survivors in the bunker armed themselves for the final stand. Outside, the ground shook as hundreds of infected sprinted across the desert, their bodies distorted by new mutations. They moved like a single organism, coordinated, unstoppable. Logan prepared explosives along the bunker entrance, while others aimed rifles at the reinforced doors. Emily continued her broadcast, telling people to stay quiet, stay hidden, and stay together. But deep down she knew it wouldn't be enough. The infected were too fast, too smart, too many. The bunker lights flickered as the first wave slammed into the steel doors, bending metal with monstrous force. Screeches echoed through the vents. Dust fell from the ceiling. Logan shouted for Emily to take cover. She whispered one last message into the microphone. "We'll fight until the last breath. Don't give up." The doors buckled inward. Darkness swallowed the room, and the dead flooded in, marking the beginning of America's final night.